In this tutorial, we're going to be working with the black and white adjustment layer. And adjustment layers are something that you want to work with so that you can preserve your adjustments, and if you want to change them, you can adjust them later. A lot of people, you go to the image drop-down menu in Photoshop, and there is an adjustments area here that you can select any of these adjustments. But from the drop-down menu at the top here, these are permanent changes, and most of these adjustments can be made through the Layers panel as an adjustment layer. So instead of a permanent change, we can put in a layer our adjustment, and we're able to adjust it again at a later time or mix it up however it is that we want to. Your goal in this technique is to take an image and apply a couple of different black and white adjustment layers to the image, which can be turned on and off for a final 2 comp versions when you optimize your images. So I'm going to teach you another technique also for doing different versions of the same photo. So here we have a picture. This one's called number 2 black and white adjustment.jpg, and if you don't have that picture, you want to pick something with maybe a little bit of texture, a little bit of interest, some contrast in color and light. So this one's good as any, and first of all, we want to go ahead and select the black and white adjustment from our adjustments panel. So down in the Layers panel. Okay, and so we'll check off the black and white adjustment, which adds a layer here onto our photograph. And then in the Properties panel for the black and white adjustment, then we can mess around with changing any of the colors slightly differently up and down, and it really will depend on the color of the photograph originally as to what's going to happen with these adjustments. Okay, so to turn it undo something, Control or Command Z will undo, and Control Alt or Command Option will turn it off several steps. Right back on here. We also have some presets that they're built in, and we can customize our own, and I'm guessing that we can save our own preset. Yeah. So if you find some interesting combination and you have a set of photos that are similar to each other, you might want to save a preset, and then to load it back up for another picture, then you go to the Load Black and White preset. Okay. So a lot of times I just want to go through these filters, and if you're working on a PC, this is an advantage, because if you highlight the preset, you'll be able to use the up and down arrow keys to go through the stack pretty quickly. In any case, you can start with any of these, and whatever makes something look interesting to you, then you can either start with it. Okay, like as in here, this is pretty contrasty, and if I mess with some of the other areas here of color, I'm guessing the red is going to do it. I've got a lot going on the yellows, and then you can start with something and create some interesting results. This adjustment exercise is basically going to be something of your own creation, and you just want to get creative with it. So I kind of like the results. So the results can be very quick, and tuck that back in. And then, so I want to move on to another one, so I'm going to turn the visibility of that one off and do another black and white adjustment. Yeah, they go very, very quickly. All right, don't just leave it to this. This is kind of a starting point, and if you go to the default, basically the default is just as if you were to go to the image drop-down menu and go to the mode and select grayscale right here, okay? It's as if we've chosen grayscale just to convert a regular conversion. And so this is basically a starting point, okay? So I'm going to play around with, again, the reds here. It's just up to you. There's not a whole lot effect in this picture, particularly for the cyan or blue filter. It affects certain areas of this picture. Other pictures that you have, use other pictures, it's going to affect it a great deal. There's quite a bit of green in this, so I pull the green down. It really darkens or deepens that color, and so I like that result. I'm going to tuck that back in. So now I have two results. I have this one and this one, okay? But how do I make it so that, if I have lots of layers, adjustments, or layers stacked up, and maybe even in some combination of these with using blending modes as well, how do I make it so that I can, instead of having to turn on and off, especially when you have lots and lots of layers, how do I remember those different versions? Okay, so I would go to a new panel here. This one is called Layer Comps panel. Okay, and so if you don't have the Layer Comps panel open or don't see it anywhere, go to the Window drop-down menu and select Layer Comps. Okay, what this allows us to do is to click on a different state or how your adjustment layers and how your layers are visible and hidden all at the same time. It records that situation particularly. Okay, so if I were to go and make a new layer comp, this is ideal for designers doing different versions of the same thing, so you can try it out. Many times over I do a number of different versions because I have different purposes for it, or I want to show a client the different versions, and I have maybe some slightly different layers in different situations, but it's all in one Photoshop file. So I can go, rename it, or I can leave it at Layer Comp 1. That would be okay as well. Can make some comments in it, but basically this is it. So if I click away from it to deselect it, then I want to turn on the other layer here and turn off this other one here. And so if I make a new one, new layer comp, okay, click OK. You can always rename it if you like and click away from it. Now, so if I turn both of these off, let's say I want to get layer comp 1 going, and so I will check mark that as visible. I can check mark the other one as visible, and I can flip between the two, and it turns these visible layers on and off, whatever I have as a collection. And again, if you've got lots of layers, and you've worked a lot at a particular image and you want different versions of it, layer comp is going to be a really good asset for you. Okay, and that's basically it for our lesson on the black and white adjustment layer, and you're going to have some fun with it. If you like, for purposes of your portfolio, to show before and after, of course, you're going to flatten the image in the layers. Okay, flatten. Alright, discard the hidden layers. Okay. And then you can save as, and it just depends on what you are going to be showing as your portfolio. If it's something maybe even on the iPad, you might just want a JPEG as it is. You could also save for web and get into optimizing it for an online portfolio. Or if you're using this for print, I recommend a TIFF file for it and save it wherever you want to. And then you can save each of these separately. And how I have this here, well, let's go backwards because I didn't save it as a Photoshop file initially. And I'm going to go backwards out of this flattened image Of course, you want to save first as a Photoshop file and then do your adjustments here. Okay, so I'm going to save it in with my examples. Okay, where's my example work? Photoshop examples. All right, adjustments. And I may have some adjustments somewhere. So I'm going to say B and W for black and white. Layers. Okay, so this is my layers version of this picture. It's not the original. I'd like to rename something a little bit more descriptive. All right, this is it, and happy experimenting, everyone.